The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Pastor Mike, good afternoon. We're on Mannin Line today. Open line through until 1 o'clock. Text, email, call and WhatsApp. And you're on. Call 66 13 68. Text and WhatsApp 166 177. But you'll have to 07 624 in front of your WhatsApp. Email studio@manxradio.com. It'd be nice to see what it is. Nice to know what I've got as well after hearing about all those viruses going round. At least it's got a name, that's the thing. It's going around everywhere. I don't know about you, but we've got a dose of it right through the radio station at the moment. 8 minutes past 12, and still got some messages about the Manx Sport and Recreation, the National Sports Centre announcing a reduction of weekend opening hours for the fitness zone. The only, and this is important, the only public fitness and wellbeing facility on the Isle of Man. Everything else paid for. You have to be a member and all that sort of stuff. But this is from Saturday the 4th, so they've snuck it in right at the end here. They've changed the opening hours for the fitness and the gym and spa suite at the weekend, which is when lots of people, particularly people who work during the week, get time to go. But now it's going to change. Weekdays, the gym opening hour is 7 till 9, I beg your pardon, till 21. Weekends, 9 until 5. The spa opening hours, weekdays, 10 till 9. Weekends, 10 until 4. 10 till 4. So if you're planning on going at the weekend, we're sorry, things have changed. This obviously they think everybody goes Monday to Friday. It may well have data to back all this up and what have you, but I mean the National Sports Centres, it's not a business, is it? It's not there to make profit. It's there as a public service. Anyway, any thoughts on that? Text, email, call, WhatsApp, and Julian's on with us today. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. Nice to hear you back.
Good to hear from you, Julian.
Item 12 of yesterday's Tynwald order paper with Stu Peters.
Yeah.
I pretty much agree with everything Stu Peters has said. In fact, I think I'd probably go further and have a complete cessation of this net zero thing. You know, a word that was used quite a lot yesterday was pragmatic. I'm wondering if they mean dogmatic. Because they seem to be taking orders from somebody else. And I'm just wondering if this pragmatism is more a case of... Because pragmatism, in theory, is supposed to be that you're following sort of, relevant information. But, when you're having highly unrealistic annual energy production predictions from Erie Stain, where it's 3 times more than anywhere else in the UK, double the offshore ones, those massive 1,000-foot-high things off Walney, you've got forecasts of 35-year lifespan, when the oldest Orsted wind farm is the old Barrow one, which is 19 years old. So how do they know that they last 35 years? I mean, the oldest onshore one is Goon Hilly in Cornwall, which is 18 years old.
You see, I wonder, and it's just that, well, let me put this gently. It has been in the past where consultants from across have come to the Isle of Man thinking that we're the Central African Republic. They think they're coming to educate the natives and tell us things that they think we don't know. Now, I'm not being pejorative in that, but that's happened in the past, and they've been brought to book to say, this is an advanced country. The Isle of Man is a first world country. We don't need people trying to tell us what to do. We just want the information. And I just wonder, it will be helpful if they were honest and open about what it is they think they're going to do, rather than trying to blind us with science as though we don't understand statistics or figures.
Well, that's right. I mean, I seemed to hear Daphne Kane yesterday, who from memory a little while ago went to one of the COP meetings. I think it might have been the one in Glasgow. And she's talking about a climate code red. Can we please define what a code red is exactly? What is a code red?
It's probably above a code amber.
If you remember, the last time Jane Poole Wilson came on with Dan Davis, I asked Jane, we've got a climate emergency, and she's been chairing several of the meetings, or at least she's the first and last speaker at some of these climate meetings. But when I asked her, what are the parameters required to stop the emergency, she had no answers, and neither does anyone else. What has to happen? I mean, according to David Quirk, we have to go back to something like 280 parts per million of CO2.
This is David Quirk, the Manxman who's working for that company in Denmark.
Correct, yeah, the one that's promoting wind and solar in Denmark. My question is, though, when you go back to 280 parts per million, well, the weather was rock and roll. I mean, you had the great famine in Ireland. You were coming out of the Maunder minimum. There was, even Laxey in the 1800s. They were having floods every month. I mean, remember, I read out about 15 of them in just the space of 3 years. It just makes me wonder, if this is a declared emergency, and then you've got the IPCC, and if you remember a little while ago, I was talking about their AR6, the proper report, Chapter 12, Table 1212 on page 1856. And it says there is no evidence that there is any signal from climate change on river flooding. So there's Laxey, heavy rains, landslides, aridity, droughts, wildfires, hurricanes, windstorms, cyclones, sea level, coastal flooding, sea level change, coastal erosion, etc., etc. We've also got, just see if I've got this wrong, Andy, we're listening to Laurie Hooper, who's been running the health service since October 21, with all the overspends, telling us that it makes financial sense to go with net zero. Did I get that right yesterday?
Well, presumably they know something that we don't know and aren't explaining it properly, or, well, as you say, there may be another reason for that. But the fact is, until you present the public, the taxpayer, the person who'll shell out for all this stuff, until you present them with a clear and present benefit, either a much better lifestyle or much more money in your pocket, well, you're going to struggle to convince people, because telling people things will be better as long as you cross your fingers and toes and hope is not really going to work, because you're trying to sell people something that they either don't understand or don't want to understand. And I just wonder why some politicians don't really understand that.
Well, you've got a couple of other things going on. You've got Ed Miliband basically having to bail out the Isle of Wight's wind turbine blade manufacturer to the tune of 300 jobs, but they'll lose 300. So they thought they were going to lose 600 because of lack of interest in that. Now, it's interesting. You've got several things going on. You've got the new administration going in January who, what the saying is, drill, baby, drill. So if the price of fossil fuels is going to drop back to what it was the last time he was in, what's that going to make for the complexion of everything else that we're doing? The other question I have is this North Quay thing. In theory, what they're talking about is we don't want cars around North Quay. Do they really want it to start looking like Castletown? How many businesses have curtailed in Castletown because the council won't listen to everyone else in the area? Basically saying, the businesses, people don't want to go in that little tiny car park in the middle of winter and try and get across that dangerous corner. They just go elsewhere. It's really unfortunate because Castletown is lovely. Going to sit in deck chairs in the middle of winter. It seems strange. By the way, I did notice Guangdong in China, they are subsidizing the production of their wind turbines now, which is where Vestas and Siemens are now getting all their parts done. But what I found interesting is that for each unit of energy, now remember that magic 28 pence, 29 pence we've been talking about here on the island, they're subsidizing per unit $207 to make them 1/5 of the cost of producing wind turbines and their components in Europe. So it's not surprising that the Isle of Wight's struggling when China, their actual state, the state government, are actually massively subsidizing to get the production prices down.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it, Julian. Thanks for calling today.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
Let's go to, excuse me, I want to go to Jonty's with us. Hi, Jonty.
Good morning, Andy.
What's the news on the NSC?
Afternoon, should I say?
Yeah.
I tell you what, that fella liked the sound of his own voice, didn't he?
Okay.
How are you, Andy? You all right?
So what's the news on the NSC? I think you've got some information.
Well, I've just seen on the Facebook group there that they're closing the hours, aren't they, of the Star there?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, where am I meant to do my press ups now?
Well, not there, obviously.
I know. Well, where are we meant to go?
Where would you go then? If it's going to be closed at weekends, 5 o'clock is the gym's going to close, and 4 o'clock the spa is going to close. Do you normally go there at that time?
Yes, well, I like to do my press-ups around 4:30 on a Saturday, but now, I'll still be able to do my press-ups, but I won't be able to do the rest of the workout, so it's a shame, really, you know. I don't know where else we're all going to go. It's a bit of a community down there, you know. I meet some of my old friends down there, and yes. What do you think about it, Andy?
Sorry, say that again.
What do you think about the whole saga?
Well, what I think's nothing to do with it. I mean, the important thing is what you think about it. If you pay to go there, I don't go to the NSC. In fact, everybody sees the body of the athlete that I am is obvious. I don't go to the gym, but I mean,
it's never too late to start, Andy. Never too late to start in the press-up world.
Well, think about that.
Okay, Andy, we'll have a lovely day anyway.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. Let's go to Andrew, who's with us now. Hi, Andrew.
Hi there, Andy. Good day to you. Today, please, Douglas City Council and spending of ratepayers' money.
Yeah.
It never ends. It absolutely never ends that this council spends ratepayers' money on schemes that are probably, in my estimation, at least 90% of the ratepayers would not agree with. Today, an hour ago on Facebook, there's a posting from Douglas City Council. We are in the process of redesigning the douglas.gov.im website. And the survey, and then it's full stop. The survey can be accessed via this link. Resident feedback survey, new Douglas City website.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've called the council, I've spoken to somebody there, and I said, you're in the process of redesign. No, we're not. It's being contracted out. I said, oh, right. So there's a porky in the first sentence. We are in the process of redesign. But they're not, because it's being contracted out. Whether that's on island or off island, I don't know. Okay, so the next thing is, well, how much is this? What's the budget for this? Right, okay. Well, this is, if you go to the council's website, you can find it under on the banner at the top of the council budget, and it's on page 91 under Information Technology Fund, right?
Yeah.
Website and security replacement, which is the hosting, £30,000.
So
£30,000 of ratepayers' money.
Who's their contractor? Does it say?
It doesn't. I wasn't provided that information. But the resident survey starts off with what content would you like to be featured on the new website? What specific features would you like? It doesn't say, do you think there should be a new website? And it doesn't say, will it be okay if we spend 30 grand of your money on it? Because the answers to both of those will probably be a resounding no. They're just out of control. 30 grand for a website.
Seems a lot.
Well, your good colleague Christian, who's done website apparently, was gawping at that as well.
I see.
So there's no accountability from these people. 30 grand for a website. There's much more important things that need doing within Douglas where 30 grand can be allocated. On a website, no. Who else, I wonder, agrees?
Well, we'll leave that open.
Today's rant over.
30,000 for the new website. Okay. All right. Thanks, Andrew.
Needed or not. Cheers.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. A call to urgently review the Isle of Man's net zero targets and associated budgets was overturned in Tynwald. The Middle MHK Stu Peters, to whom Julian was referring, wanted what he called a more pragmatic approach to climate change to focus on strengthening the wider economy. Here's what Stu had to say.
I don't really want to get into, is climate change real? It's a case of, are we doing the right things? Don't think for a second that the general public all agree with net zero, because certainly based on the number of emails, phone calls that I've had over the last week or so, they really don't. To everyone who thinks that this is an existential threat, there's nothing that we could ever do here that will affect it. We can put in mitigations, but we can't affect global warming. Eristane is not going to be free electricity. I'm convinced that electricity will be more expensive from it and not cheaper. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I don't doubt for a second the good intentions of members on both sides of this.
That was Stu, and the member for Garth, Daphne Kane, MHK, was one of the members who disagreed with what Mr. Peters had to say.
We have a code red for humanity, and we absolutely owe it to future generations to do everything in our power as a responsible government and Parliament to ensure a sustainable future for our island, for all the community and future generations.
That was Daphne Kane. Any thoughts on this matter? A message in from Bryony, who said, Andy, did you see that story at the weekend, or maybe it was earlier this week, that the ozone layer above the Antarctic may be healing at last? According to a new study, these CAMS, the Copernicus Atmospheric Monitoring Service, found that the hole above the South Pole closed earlier than expected this year. Following a 4-year run of late closures, Earth's protective layers finally returned to normal by closing in early December rather than late December. After starting in late August, this year's ozone hole expanded to a peak of 8.49 million square miles, 22 million square kilometres, if you're counting, by the end of September. This is over 1.16 million square miles smaller than the unusually large ozone hole which formed early in September 2022. Now, climate experts, I always worry when I hear that expression. Climate experts say Earth's protective gas layer is now back in line with the post-1997 average, raising hopes it could be on its way to recovery. How about that? Thank you, Bryony. I'm glad you're spotting that. Eddie's with us on now. Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Stu. You a bit better, mate?
I'm Andy. Stu was just on before.
Andy, sorry. Yeah, are you feeling a bit better?
Better than I was. Thank you very much. I don't know what it was, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Oh, good on you. Good on you. Just listening to everything lately, one of the main things that seems to be in the limelight all the time is the people in power not listening. Whether it be government, local commissioners, whatever. It just seems so general now, doesn't it? You've just had somebody on about the 30,000. The public don't seem to have any say, and yet we're the ones who vote people in to do things for us.
But the thing is, Eddie, if times are good, I think people notice things less. It's obvious that the financial tide's gone out and everybody is counting the pennies now. Well, apart from the multimillionaires in the north of the island, but I mean, everybody's counting their pennies, and it's when you're counting the pennies and it seems like other people aren't. I think that's what rankles.
Well, I totally agree with that. If the people in the power at the moment want to hear the public saying good things about them, then do the right things for us, not blow money left, right and centre on stupid things. I mean, I actually heard in Parliament the other day somebody bragging about how good the terminal at Liverpool has been doing. Well, how can it be doing well when we spent £75 million at least on something we should never have paid a penny for? So you can't really give it any credit whatsoever. How stupid is that? But just to get to Daphne Kane there, red code, is it she called it?
Code red for humanity.
Code red for humanity. This is a good one. Do you know Rick Tomlinson on the royal family at all? Have you seen that?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
His comment would be, red code, I won't say the other word, backside.
I'm glad, yes, okay.
Yeah, so that is, how stupid are we getting to come out with things like that? I'll just give you a little bit more information. You know, I gather as much information I can about wind turbines. The more or less identical land as Eristane, down in history books, the Huddersfield Canal was excavated, and a very similar land, except nowhere near as much gradient. Digging that section out caused floods, landslide, and would you believe, one 15-ton boulder was moved 2 miles in one of the floods. And the reason that was given to it all was because they dug up the peat bog, and that is what caused it. It's identical, it's down in history if anybody wants to look at it. It's identical more or less to a similar thing that's happened, which is also down in fact. Wardell Armstrong, by the way, were the company who surveyed the Orkneys. And when they put 6 wind turbines up there, it caused landslides and floods. We've got exactly the same area here, but nobody seems to listen in government that it's going to cause floods, landslides, it's going to wreck the whole area. But again, we get back to what I first said. Nobody in power seems to be listening to anything. There was a time, Stu, I think, Peter, I keep calling you Stu, sorry about that. Andy, there was a time when I think I've heard you say the government are put in there to do things for us. The majority of everybody, I haven't heard anybody at all recently who is for this wind turbine or net zero. Why don't you let the public have a vote on this thing? It should be. It's so enormous. It's gonna bankrupt the Isle of Man if we go ahead with it. I can guarantee you. We haven't found. I pointed out when you were off 3 statements that the Chief Minister made in Parliament on Monday or Tuesday, I think, and all 3 things was cheaper electricity, secure power for the rest of for the future. Not one of them was right. They're all proven things. We can't find anywhere in the world that's got cheaper electricity because of wind turbines.
Well, here's a challenge then to any of the politicians who are now in power and the ones who get into power in 2026. So whoever's in charge of the DOI and obviously underneath them, the Manx Utilities or the Treasury Minister or the Chief Minister.
Yeah, good.
I want to hear them say, electricity will go no higher than it is. If any of them dare say that, then it will be interesting, because at the moment the public have no guarantees. There's no guarantee. It's basically we're licking our finger and sticking it in the air and hoping.
Even if one of them was daft enough to say we're going to get cheaper electricity, Andy, they won't care when the next election comes along. They will have done their bit, got their money, and gone. It's farcical. It needs a general public vote.
All right. Appreciate it, Eddie. Thanks for calling today.
Thanks, Andy.
There's a note in from Dave who said, regarding 30,000 for Douglas Council's website, absolutely agree with your caller. It's time to rationalise the Isle of Man's Victorian, overinflated system of local government. I think it's a waste of time and money. And a message in from Gary who just said, you've said many times, oh crikey, somebody's listening, there was one politician who said we should offer the public cheap electricity, and that's the way to sell the wind turbines. That was Laurie Hooper. You're quite right, Gary. Laurie Hooper was on, and he said that's the way, and I think he's mentioned it to politicians within Tynwald. You will convince the public about net zero and about sustainable and about the wind turbines if we get cheaper electricity. The question is, will we get cheaper electricity? I wonder what your thoughts are. Text, email, call, WhatsApp, Manx Telecom and Sure asking £250 to install fibre. That's a lot of money. How are people going to afford this? Of course, the copper wire system, the copper system is being taken out of service. Parking at Nobles Hospital, says Steph. I had to take my son to A&E yesterday. The car park was full, jammed. Cars parking on double yellows, grass verges and bends. It was extremely difficult to exit the car park due to inconsiderate parking. I then went to the main car park. Again, this was chaos. Cars abandoned on double yellows and again on grass verges. Traffic inward was blocked as cars couldn't exit safely due to bad parking. I then went to the overflow car park. That's the one by Vaggers. Exactly the same scenario. No spaces, poor, inconsiderate parking. Even a few cars had been blocked in by others. It took me 30 minutes to get my son to A&E. Something really needs to be done about this issue. Clearly the car parks are being used by, well, somebody to park and ride the bus into Douglas. Traffic wardens need to visit daily. Tickets should be issued to those parking illegally. Thank you, Steph. It's been talked about many times, and I think Manxco have said in the past they've monitored the car park, and the old issue of people coming in, leaving a car and getting the bus, or two cars entering the car park and one car leaving the car park only to be picked up later on in the year. They maintain, or have maintained in the past, that that doesn't happen to any great extent. How on earth we're going to find that out, we don't know. At the back of all this, at the back of all the problems with the car park, when it's full at Nobles Hospital, you know what's sitting there in the background, don't you? Paying for parking. Somebody somewhere is going to say, well, we could solve this. We just need to put in some meters. Or even better, we need to put an app in. Now, free parking at our hospitals is one of the marks of civilization on the Isle of Man. How would you feel about having to pay to park to go to hospital or to visit someone?
Merry Christmas from everyone at Doom School.
H&H Motorcycles, South Key Industrial Estate for all your Christmas biking needs. Helmets, road and off-road clothing, kids bikes, Christmas vouchers and more at H&H Motorcycles, the island's Yamaha dealership, with additional Thursday late night opening till 8.
Spectrum Windows. If your house needs a new look and your windows let in rain, keep those cold breezes out and make it look like new again. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Quality through and through. Great work guaranteed to you. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Spectrum Windows.
Sorrel has a special Christmas gift just for you. For the first time ever, there's a discount on our famous candle and perfume making workshops. Book a workshop with family or friends and use the code CHRISTMAS. Discount also applies to vouchers that you can gift to someone special. Don't miss this limited offer. Spaces are filling fast. Book now at sorrel.im to secure your spot and experience the magic of Sorrel this holiday season. Use code CHRISTMAS at the checkout. Merry Christmas from all of us at Sorrel.
It's Dolly time, so don your Stetson and sequins for a night of country at the Mannin Hotel. On Friday the 20th of December, come and sing along to all the classics from the Queen of Country at the Mannin's Dolly Parton Tribute Evening. With a 3-course dinner, entertainment, overnight stay and breakfast all included for just £210 per couple. You really do get more from the Mannin Hotel. Booking essential. Just call 605 155, visit manninhotel.im or find them on Facebook.
The friendly team at Ellen Vannin Fuels is working hard to keep you warm and moving this winter, whatever the weather brings. Call 844 000. And to all our customers, season's greetings from Ellen Vannin Fuels.
2 weeks on from a late defeat last time out, FC Isle of Man will be looking to grab the chance to bounce back this weekend in the NWCFL Premier Division. Back at the Bowl on Saturday, the Ravens host a Stockport Town side who beat their island hosts earlier in the season. Join me, Rob Pritchard and Tony Mepham for FC Isle of Man versus Stockport Town, kicking off at 6 p.m. this Saturday. Manx Radio will be bringing you full live match commentary on our DAB and AM 1368 channels. Live coverage of FC Isle of Man on Manx Radio is supported by Selton, investing in our community.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
23 minutes now before 1 o'clock. Betty's on now. Hi, Betty.
Hi, Andy. I'm glad you're feeling better. But several things, really. But with the last caller, I agree there should be free parking. And if it's so confusing, we should have a parking attendant and perhaps little slips given out to people who are going to the hospital for a real reason.
You see, I wonder, Betty, whether or not it is, and I don't want to kind of vilify anybody who comes across as a consultant to the Isle of Man, but if they come from the UK, they've been charging for parking at hospitals for 20 and more years in the UK, so they take it as read that you're going to get ripped off by some parking company if you go and visit somebody in hospital. We don't, we haven't, and the vast majority of people don't want, they just think it's anathema. It shouldn't happen. Hospital is not something you choose to partake in. You're there because of a problem. So charging people for parking, surely it's not right, and I don't know why anybody would think that is right.
No, I think it's terrible. It's very dreadful. But the reason I rang up was about climate change. I agree with Eddie. He said it all, really. And I think we need a referendum on this. It's a very important issue. And what the people think should be what happens. And as with Eddie, everybody I have spoken to thinks we shouldn't go with the zero approach at all. So that is really, really important.
Well, that means the government's going to have to, there's going to have to be a massive change in policy if what you say happens, because they're well into it. They've got lots of strategies. The net zero plans are in now, and they seem intent on carrying them out, Betty.
Well, we don't want it. The people don't want it. And it's our money they're using. And they have to think, if this carries on in the next election, none of them will be in, except Stu Peters, probably. And Stu Peters should be the next chief minister.
Oh, he'd be happy to hear that.
Well, 3 cheers for him. He's the only one with any common sense.
Okay. All right, Betty.
I feel very strongly about this, and most people I know of feel the same.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Betty.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good to hear from you. Text, email, call and WhatsApp. And remember, Mannin Line is an opinion programme. And it's good, really. I think it's important that we hear opposite opinions. Now, a lot of people entirely fall in with the government's net zero plans. They think it's a good idea. Do you know, it's 5 years, I think it's 5 years ago that it was 2018, sorry. The United Nations Climate Change Conference, when Greta Thunberg announced, you have stolen my future. And she addressed the 2019 UN Climate Action Summit and said, the whole thing, although she actually took that line from another young woman several years previously, but all that aside, that's years ago now. That's 5-6 years ago since that happened. So when they were talking about crises, it's a crisis, it's an emergency. Most people perceive an emergency as something that's gone wrong, and you need to fix it now. It's a severed artery, it's a broken bone, it's a car crash. The trouble is when a crisis goes on for 6 years and it doesn't happen, it doesn't ruin people's way or certain people's ways of life, it tends to lose its impact. So getting that message through to the public, whether it's net zero emissions, the emissions of greenhouse gases due to human activities, and I mentioned earlier on about climate experts. And of course, everybody can pitch themselves as a climate expert. You can get degrees in all sorts of things now. Whether or not it makes you an expert is another matter. But really, I'll come back to my hobby horse, and you know what I'm going to say, and that is 29p per kilowatt hour. Not one politician has said to us the price will come down definitely. Electricity will be cheaper when we have sustainable form of generation on the Isle of Man. On the discussion about electric vehicles, we were talking about these yesterday, when second-hand for sale and for sale, private or garage sale, is it explained to the buyer how much it could cost to replace the bank of batteries, which can be an astronomical amount. They only last for a certain number of years, and if after 7 years, problems can start. My other point is, what if an electric vehicle is involved in an accident and a fire starts? Is the fire service capable to cope with an electric vehicle fire? Well, they have blankets, apparently. Last time we spoke to the Fire and Rescue Service, they have 2 blankets, 2 electric vehicle blankets, because you can't put the darn things out. You can't just hose water on it or foam. It doesn't work that way. You have to cover it with a blanket and whistle until it goes out. And they have 2 blankets on the entire Isle of Man. So that's the situation. I sympathise with what's going on in Castletown. I sympathise with the shop owners. I'm with the shop owners. Has anybody given a thought to less able people, to disabled people who rely on being able to park close to the shops? And a message in from Andy just said it's a sad time in Castletown. Seems like the commissioners are focusing on destroying all retail in Castletown. Even today they've closed the car park opposite the town hall just to compound the situation further. It's like they know that retail's suffering, so let's kick them harder. I'm sure they'd say not, but anyway, that's Andy's opinion. Like they're school bullies. It's getting personal as the commissioners even attacked Mr. Kringle's personal car parking arrangements, which is an infringement of his personal situation. Castletown commissioners seem to think they're running their own kingdom, and it's for them only. It's the dictatorship of Castletown commissioners. What happened to fair politics on our lovely Isle of Man? Peter, says Ian. Ian says, Peter's echoed today what I've thought for a long time. The net zero nonsense is something people with money support with no thought or interest how it affects less well-off people who will basically lose their freedoms and lifestyle that they have. It's going to be a sad day when this is forced on them. People should vote in whether we want this or not, says Ian. It's been said in the past, you have to be rich to go green. You have to have money to purchase an electric vehicle, unless you're getting discounts or one through a corporate scheme. It costs a lot of money. So immediately you're separating lower income people from the green agenda. And remember, as a proportion of income, it will cost lower income families and people more to subscribe to the green agenda. I'm contacting you to raise my concerns about the reduced operational hours for the NSC fitness zone, including the gym and spa suite, particularly the reduction in weekend hours set to take effect in January. Now, I'm a frequent user of the gym and spa suite, and this decision is just, I find it very concerning, especially as many, including myself, rely on evening access at the weekends due to work commitments. At present, I go to the spa suite 6 times a week. It's significantly benefited my health, my well-being. While I appreciate that privately operated spas are available for myself and many others, they come at a price, which is, to some people, unaffordable. The NSC facilities provide an accessible, a vital service for the community. There was no prior consultation, and the NSC staff I've spoken to were equally surprised, shocked, on learning the change through notices just posted on the doors. Additionally, rumours about closing the spa suite entirely and repurposing the area for something else. So we'd like to hear what's going to happen. Remember, this is a public facility. This is the NSC, our Rolls-Royce. So they're closing the gym and spa suite at weekends earlier. And bearing in mind how much well-being is trumpeted by the government, our well-being, our mental well-being and physical well-being, when all that comes out through a spa and a gym. Now, when I say spa, I'm not talking about people lounging around in posh towels with turbans on having beauty treatments. This is just a spa, a whirlpool, a bit of a steam room and sauna. This is for well-being. And it's being cut at weekends just like that, without telling anybody before. How do you feel about that? What do you think about it? It's a cut back in service. Text, email, call and WhatsApp.
Merry Christmas from everyone at Hopkins School.
Hello, Isle of Man. At Co-op, we believe it's wrong to lower prices on things you buy least. So we lower the prices on the things you buy most, as well as giving you other exclusive member benefits. Plus, we now deliver to the whole island, so great deals can be delivered to your doorstep. So join Co-op to become not just a member, but an owner and have your say on how we're run. Co-op, owned by you, right by you. £1 membership fee applies. See full T's and C's at coop.co.uk/terms.
Look forward to a cleaner, greener future by switching to gas with Isle of Man Energy. You'll get a future fuel-ready smart boiler with smart controls and 10 years servicing included. And on top of reducing your local carbon emissions with a state-of-the-art boiler and cleaner fuel, Isle of Man Energy will remove that dirty old oil tank, all from just £25.20 per month. Think greener and find out more today. Visit isleofmanenergy.im and click Switch to Gas.
Beat your best at the 2025 Manx Telecom Parish Walk. Manx Telecom mobile customers who enter before the end of January get £5 off the entry fee. Go to parishwalk.com for details and to enter.
Conister Bank is celebrating a remarkable milestone in 2025. 90 years of proudly serving the Isle of Man, growing alongside our island's communities. To honour this journey, Conister are telling their unique story in a book, and they want you to be part of it. If you have a story, photo, or a piece of Conister's history to share, you can help Conister bring those memories to life. Get in touch. Email marketing@conisterbank.co.im. That's marketing@conisterbank.co.im. Conister Bank, celebrating 90 years of community, heritage and connection.
This festive season on the nation's station, the winning continues with Manx Radio's 12 Days of Christmas.
We've got some massive prizes up for grabs, including a £100 voucher for Sorrel, a Google Nest thermostat from KPMG and a 2-night luxury suite stay at Trail Lodge.
All you need to do is listen for your cue to call and join us live on the air to answer a simple seasonal question.
Manx Radio's 12 Days of Christmas, brought to you by SpectrumWindows.im.
And winning gets underway tomorrow.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
It's 10 to 1. Howard's on now. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. Welcome back, fella.
Oh, and welcome back to you.
I think we both had the same thing. No, just looking through some of the papers and whatnot, and the local paper, it's gone quiet now, but I think they call the Manx Development Corporation, are planning putting a car park centre up down in where it used to be the steam packet warehouses.
Yeah.
And just going by the artist impression, it looks like a high-class hotel. I'm not saying the one that Keith Lord is going to, where he's going to convert that office block across the road. That's a totally different thing. But why on earth do they show this building a car park, for goodness sake, with all glazing in, there's windows in it and everything. It's a very expensive looking car park. And plus the fact that if there's a fire in there, there's no way for any fumes to escape if they're all glazed. You know, for goodness sake, there's more electric vehicles coming on the market now, slowly, admittedly. What provision should be made to be able to get access to anywhere where there's a fire? And this one I've seen the photographs of, and it is by the Manx Development Corporation who want to do it.
Yeah.
But why on earth have they designed such a high risk and a high decorated building?
Well, I mean, at some point, I'm sure we'll hear from them, but they seem to be living up to their name, Accommodation Anonymous. So if anybody from Manx Development Corporation would like to come on Mannin Line to chat about the good news, then we'd love to have them on to chat about it, and maybe they could tell us what's happening to the nurses' home as well.
Well, that's another one where they're only on recently, and it was again in the local papers that they're on time and on budget. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, did they not borrow another $2 million because they'd gone over budget?
Well, yeah, and we can't figure out where this, and obviously they've lost money, and they say that's just because of the nature of the business and what have you. But as it stands at the moment, for something that was trumpeted as being, a great white hope, and it was going to be the 20-minute village and this, that, and the other, nothing's happened. Nothing's started. Well, certainly nothing's been finished.
And the words from them were that they're going to sell these to students coming back onto the island to go into the nursing. Now, from what I can gather, the students coming back have got a huge loan on their backs already. They're not going to earn a fortune in their first few years in nursing, etc. So how on earth are they going to afford... and I think their leasehold, the monies to pay for a house, a flat apartment, or call it what you like, up there in Domain Road, on Westmoreland Road. They're living in cloud cuckoo land.
Well, there just seems to be more questions than answers, Howard,
yes,
because
there's nobody giving answers.
If they're talking about, I'd just love to know if people aren't going to be allowed vehicles in those dwellings, how are they going to police that? How are they going to know whether somebody's got a vehicle or not and where they're parking it? They could be parking it 3 streets away.
Well, there's a question just being asked. What did it cost to knock Balaclone School down? That was the old Domain Road.
Yeah.
And that was 70,000. Now, you can see that's going to edge its way into these people. Say, okay, well, we'll make that into a car park for the new building that we've just developed here at X number of millions of pounds. And that's the 15-minute town, 15-minute city.
Yeah.
But you can park your car out the back, that'll be all right, because where Crosby, Kane and Kennish and the old Scout Hall and everything, well, that's a fair piece of land there. You get quite a lot of in-town houses, not private ones, like they've just done on Peel Road with the corporation, and they are nice, the new flats. They could do a similar thing up there in Domain Road and Westmoreland Road. But Eddie was on earlier on and was saying about the wind turbines, etc. I don't know what paper you get, but I normally get Daily Mail. And this week there was a picture of, now it's only one, but this is only one picture that was taken, of a turbine, the entire blades, etc., lying on the ground. But on the same page, there's a large solar farm that was virtually destroyed by this last storm.
Yeah, I saw that.
And all that, you can't just go and ring a Sparks up and ask them to come up, connect it up again. That's going to take weeks, if not months, because they will have to be replaced. So that is a huge area there that's not going to supply any power to anybody in that grid system. So if you only have to have like many years ago, that, God love him, Fish, I think his name, when he said there's going to be no storm this weekend, and it flattened half of Britain.
Oh, that was Michael Fish, yes.
Michael Fish, that's him. And you only have to have something like that coming up again, and you're going to lose an awful lot of the power. So on the Isle of Man, we got a perfectly adequate building down there with 2 gas turbines coming to the end of their life. I have to admit that they've been there a little while, but they put them in years ago when the building was up. Why can't they replace them with new ones and guarantee if it's a gas turbine, the gas coming in is supplying the whole of the island. Now, if you go down and buy something bulk, you'll pay a bulk price. But if you buy a smaller quantity, you'll get charged a higher price.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it, Howard. Good to hear from you. Glad you're better.
Take care. Thanks.
All right, 4 minutes before 1. That's it for Mannin Line today. Back with another... Oh, it's a Friday open line tomorrow. It's ridiculous to have a large national health club and have it running on minimum hours, especially when the rest of the building is going to be open and being heated. Poor management, large salaries, says Tony. And you'll probably find the NSC reduced opening hours is the same as the bus driver shortage. New terms and condition, not paying overtime for weekend work. Right, that's it. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.